Just kidding.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Mad City Podcast, Saturday Supplemental. Today I just want to take just a few brief minutes to talk about success. Now, success might mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Success for some might be, making it real big at work, getting a nameplate for your office, having your own parking space. Success might mean public recognition. Success could be, um, seeing your kids graduate from college and go on to have fulfilling lives. Success could be just getting up out of bed and making it, to the bathroom. I know I've been there. Success can mean a lot of things for a lot of people, and especially people in recovery. Success can be just a tremendously rewarding thing, but it can also be very dangerous. Speaking from personal experience, I've had what some could consider great success in recovery, having had several years clean, had public attention and accolades, being able, having the opportunity to tell my story and to speak, very publicly and openly about my addiction and my recovery, and having the opportunity to help a number of people along the way. Having all that positive reinforcement and recognition is great, but it can be dangerous. It can really go to someone's head. And before you know it, while you think you're just, standing on top of the world, suddenly some things start to go wrong, and you realize that you haven't been doing the work necessary to maintain a healthy balance. And like it can kind of take you out of where you are and where you need to be. Like I can say with quite a bit of honesty that I was not necessarily grounded in my past experiences, and I paid dearly for that when things did start to go awry. Namely, several consecutive deaths of close friends of mine, followed by the death of my dog friend Buddy, which was not like a sudden tragic thing. I mean, there was things it was building up over time, and I was not really addressing that in a healthy way. And then the subsequent dissolve of my then relationship, which I'm not in any way bitter about now. It was the healthiest breakup I've ever had. We actually high-fived. but and then seeing some of the other outward successes kind of dissolve. My place in the recovery advocacy world kind of just sort of went away, and it wasn't because so much I was failing at my work, or because people weren't subscribing to the kind of all recovery platform that we were promoting. It just was it just wasn't the right time for this area for that kind of recovery, and so it had to move on to another town that was ready for that. And I accept all of that now. And then there was the issue with writing for the paper, and I wanted to keep rising in the ranks, going on from opinion editor to editor in chief, and that didn't work out. A lot of disappointments. I put a lot of my eggs in one basket. Well, a lot of baskets, but I put a lot of eggs in a lot of baskets, and it's just things didn't go my way, and I couldn't handle it because I thought I was untouchable. I thought there's no way in hell that I could have all this success and have it just suddenly taken away from me. And that's where the danger comes in, because when you realize that you haven't been doing the inside work to maintain balance and perspective, when those things happen, you're not prepared for it, and you feel cheated, as I did, and you can become very resentful, and it just sets the stage for a whole lot of trouble, a whole lot of trouble. And I take responsibility for my part in my failures in that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I still see that some people were dicks to me too. That goes without saying. Nobody's perfect in any situation, but but no, I mean, ultimately, it was on me, and regardless of how other people treat me, it's really it's my responsibility and how I react. That's gonna it's gonna make or break me. So the reason I bring this up is because the other day I was telling my roommate about I ordered some new business cards that prominently say madcitypodcast.com. I got a domain, and that's really cool. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I haven't done anything with it yet. I still have to build the website, and believe me, somebody's gonna have to hold my hand through that process. Even though Squarespace does make it very simple and easy with their templates. You just kind of you move the stuff that's on the template over and put your own stuff in. But as much as I would love to believe that I'm super tech savvy, I'm not. So I'm hoping that I can find a friend who's a little bit more computer literate to help me walk through that, so I can build the website and make it look really cool and easy for people to access and use. And I still really I don't even know what I'm gonna do with it necessarily, except just I guess have more tools for people to be able to reach me and find out more about the podcast and about me and other things that I'm involved in. It's not so much like, oh, I'm hoping to make a bunch of money doing anything. I mean, I guess maybe at one point I might make Mad City Podcast T-shirts or something. I don't know. Here's a hat. Whatever. I really don't know. But it just seems like the logical step in what I'm doing here, to build this. I guess it's like a business sort of thing. Since I am sort of a grown up now. Don't tell anybody. Um, but I was telling my roommate about this, and he's like, "Wow, wow, good for you. That's awesome. That's success." And I was like, yeah. And then I went to go take a piss, where I often have some of my most profound and honest thoughts, looking down as I go. I was like, wait a minute, what does that really mean for me? What does that mean for me to have success in recovery, especially being not I'm not a newbie, like I'm not new in recovery. But this particular phase of my recovery is new to me. I'm still, kind of drying myself off from, my last run, and wet behind the ears, as they say. So I don't really want to get ahead of myself. A lot of things have happened recently that have really kind of rushed upon me in a profound way, and I feel great about them. They're all awesome things, but you know I have to be careful. I have to safeguard myself to make sure that in the event of some sort of tragic uh event or something that just doesn't go my way, like I have to make sure that like that doesn't destroy me or shake me up so badly that I lose perspective and lose sight of what it is that I'm really trying to do, and that's to be a healthy person, to be the healthiest version of myself that I can be. I often say like the best version of myself or the better version of myself. What that really means is the healthy version of myself, the compassionate, sincere, um, you know, uh, caring person that I know I can be. It's very important to me to maintain those virtues and traits, and I don't want anything to get in the way of that, especially myself. you know but and people will say like, Pat, you've been through the ringer, man. Like you have been hurt in the most like detrimental ways a person can be hurt, like losing a child, is probably like on par with being like the worst kind of pain a person can suffer. So it's like, what else is there? But like, leave it to me to find another thing, and I just want to, so I just want to address this and make sure that that I know first and foremost, but that also that the people listening, the people that know and care about me also understand that I'm keeping this in perspective, and I'm this is on my mind, that I don't want to get ahead of myself, and I want to maintain the healthy rituals and practices that I have now, like eating regularly even when I'm not necessarily hungry, sleeping regularly even though like I'm not totally exhausted yet. Like I shouldn't be waiting until I'm starving or until I'm about to fall over, to do the things that are necessary to take care of myself. Reaching out to people and making sure that I'm being vulnerable with the right people, with things that are troubling me, and maintaining contact with the recovery community, and just making sure that I'm keeping that connection healthy and fruitful for me, between me and what many would call a higher power. Um, Power is greater than me. I feel very connected to the universe and to things. I don't my higher power, who I choose not to call God, which is funny because people in recovery say like my higher power, who I choose to call God. Why I choose not to call God, even though I do use that word, pretty regularly, just as sort of like a supplemental, just sort of like a placeholder, Um, and it's not to be a dick that I say these things. It's just, I just don't share the same perspective, and I don't want there to be any misunderstandings, I guess, because I do want to I do want to make sure that there's a place at the table for people who have like-minded thoughts and feelings about what a higher power can be and doesn't have to be. I'm still trying to get to the bottom of who came up with the doorknob theory. That I'd love to know who that was. But yeah, I need to stay connected so that I don't feel isolated and alone in my world. Um, this world of mine in which I share with all of you. So yeah, I just wanted to say that, and also I bring it up because a friend of mine brought it to my attention. A very good friend of mine who I've known for a very long time. Um, Brought it to my attention that in one of my last episodes, I brought up some mutual friends, and I used their names and told stories about them, and without having cleared any of that with them first. And he said his interpretation was that I sort of threw my friend under the bus, and I didn't see it that way, because I didn't damn them or ridicule them. I said that I think we had some things between us that I think we both could have handled better. And I noted my part in saying that, yeah, I was definitely the bigger asshole. But I guess that doesn't really matter when I say, but then this person still, doesn't really put a good light on them. And especially without having had any previous discussion about, that I'd be mentioning them, especially by name. It does kind of make, that's kind of a dick move. So I want to be careful of that too, because again, like while I'm blowing dust in the wind, like trailing, through this successful new venture of mine, it can be real easy for me to lose sight of these people that took part in my life and these stories that I tell. And so I said, you know what, you're right. I should at the very least change people's names. And he suggested, just talk to them first. And I was like, hey, maybe even better yet, I could just invite them onto the show, and then, they could give their version of the story. Because I mean, I might be, looking back on it wrong. I mean, memories are pretty, subjective. So I might have it all kind of mixed up, and especially considering how much I was fucked up in the past. So they might have a totally different perspective. Not to say that they're totally right about from their perspective, but who knows? And it would just be fun to have a little back and forth, and they could challenge me, and we could kind of banter. Um, that would be cool. And I'm just gonna say it. The person that I mentioned before was my good friend Beth, who has always challenged me and brought it to my attention when I was being a fuckhead. And I always have respected her for that, even when she really pisses me off. Because they say the truth will set you free, and I say the truth will set you free, but it'll probably piss you off first. And I do appreciate her always being there to challenge me and to try to keep me on my toes. And I do want to say publicly that I apologize for bringing up the you know the things that happened between us, and without having discussed it with her first. So Beth, if you're listening, I'm sorry, and I will make direct contact with you, so that maybe we can hash things out and sort of put some of that stuff behind us if possible. Um, and yeah, I would love to have you, her, anyone really on the show to have these. I think it would just make for better storytelling in general. And please, I would love to have any one of the few people who I've given permission to say, Pat, shut the fuck up. you know, to be there to actually say it to my face, on the show. So that would be great. Anyway, I have to get going, because I'm going to go buy a new drum, and I mean, I still have my old ones, but they need to be fixed. So I'm going to buy a new drum, and I'm going to go to this big drum circle over at Old Brick Park, and enjoy that and watch people do hoops and dance and hum and bang on skins, and it's going to be great. Till next time, I just want to say thank you all for listening to me and being with me on this. Oh, son of a bitch.
Yeah, come on, break the streets up.